Today on Torin Talks, we're going to be talking about Blade. So I want to talk about Blade because it is the first movie that basically got the ball rolling on the whole superhero genre. It's not, I would say, in continuity with the MCU as far as like, you know, Iron Man, Thor, and all those movies. But it did show Marvel that their IP, their properties could be turned into successful movies that generated money and interest in the characters for them. So I want to talk about Blade because he's kind of overlooked. You know, everyone credits the MCU with Robert Downey Jr. and the Iron Man franchise, where it's really Blade that kind of jump-started this whole thing to even get to that point of an Iron Man. And people really responded to this movie, and, you know, it's actually Marvel's kind of first hit in their bag. Well, I remember watching it at the time, and at the time, like, the Blade movie for me is just, it's kind of near and dear because me and friends, like, we really just had fun with that movie. As far as, like, when I watch it, it's almost borderline a comedy, some of them, just because of the characterization and the way everything acts, and it's just hilarious. But I just recently rewatched the first one, and I forgot how much of a solid kind of movie it is. It stands the test of time. I mean, maybe some of the graphics don't, but, you know, the movie itself stands the test of time, and the story still holds up, and it's pretty good. So I kind of just want to talk about it a little bit. Felt like it was the perfect movie to talk about. You know, it's the night before Halloween, and what better movie to talk about than half man, half vampire that hunts other vampires. So the first thing that kind of stood out to me about Blade was kind of his characterization, and there is so many ways that could have just went left. You know, like, it could have just turned into this weird thing. And a lot of times with black actors, for me personally, I do not like when that person becomes a caricature of black culture or what people think black culture is. And, you know, there's a time and a place for things like that. For example, Black Dynamite, he is the perfect example of caricature and stereotypes or whatever done correctly and funny, and, you know, it fits for that genre and that movie and what that movie was trying to say. But people try to make that character into every portrayal of black person in the movie, and that's just, to me, A, lazy, and B, not even accurate, because, you know, it's just like the black person always has to be the one coming in with the wisecrack or the whatever. It's just annoying, and I don't like it, and I'm glad that they really don't have him doing that in this movie. But everything just, it flows so effortlessly. You can kind of really believe that this is a person living in this world, and it doesn't feel like someone is forcing a certain narrative. I did like the fact that the world is kind of set up fairly easily. You know, you get the premise right off the bat. You know, you have his story. His mother was bitten by a vampire when she was pregnant with him, and so they were able to save him, but they didn't save the mother, and so he is essentially a vampire who can walk in the daylight. So he basically has all these superhuman attributes of a vampire. So he has enhanced strength, invulnerabilities to certain things. However, he does not have their weaknesses, as where, like, sunlight doesn't affect him, and, you know, silver and the other weaknesses that the vampires have in this world don't affect him. Except that he does have the thirst or the hunger for blood like a vampire. So to kind of counteract this, he has a serum that he takes, so that kind of eats away the cravings, you know, keeps him down, so then he's not, you know, out here just attacking people. On the vampire side, you have Stephen Dorff playing Deacon Frost, and I really like this character because at first you kind of really don't know what his motivations are. He just seems like he's just an upstart. He's just trying to cause chaos. And then at first they set him up like he is the big bad, but in the vampire ranks, he is not. He is kind of on the second lowest kind of rung, if you will. And there's like a council of like pure blood vampires who kind of oversee things. And how they have kind of been running vampire society for the last couple 100,000 years. Is, you know, they come out at night, they do their thing, they snatch a human here or there, and kind of, you know, go on about their business. Deacon Frost wants to change all that. He doesn't understand why they're running from the humans when they possess every, in his mind, superior ability. And he wants them to take over and be the dominant force in the world. But he doesn't want to do that. So he starts clashing with the uppers in his organization. And one of his minions has a tangle with Blade, and so they have to take him to, you know, like a hospital clinic situation. And he jumps off the table and starts attacking people. And one of the people that he attacks is a doctor. Her name is Karen, and she is bitten by this guy. And so Blade ends up rescuing her and taking her back to his kind of lair. And then they kind of fill her in on the world around her and what the bigger issue is with vampires and humans and things that are going on. And she is a hematologist, which is a doctor that has to deal with blood. And I really kind of like the fact that they kept her in the movie, because she kind of had a point and a purpose to be there, versus sometimes when they have these movies and they have a female kind of, like, I don't want to say maybe love interest, just side character, just like the secondary character, and it's a woman. They always have her kind of in the story, but serving no other purpose but just to be the damsel in distress. And whereas she was a damsel a few times, but more so her purpose, she had a purpose because she was someone who could help him. But the problem that Blade's having is that the serum that he takes to kind of ward off his hunger for blood is wearing off. She can kind of help him with that problem. The interesting thing about this movie also is they kind of have a good world building element there. And I mean, they are taking it from comics, so there is kind of a pre-foundation for them. But I do think that they adapted it in a way that was still interesting. Eventually, Deacon Frost kind of stages a coup in the vampire world and essentially becomes the de facto leader in the vampire world. And what he wants to do is get this old ass vampire book, and he's translating it using, you know, modern technology, so he can figure out how to get more power and to essentially become a daywalker like Blade. So Blade is a daywalker. He's a vampire who can walk in the day. So this is the reason why the vampires really can't gain power, because they're only good at night. And if they even step out in the day, so even if they got power at night, people could just take it over in the morning. And, you know, people can work day and night. They're not hindered by the day like vampires are. So he wants to eliminate that hindrance and be a daywalker like Blade. The thing that really interests me about the characters in Blade were the characterization of, I feel like each person was real. Like I felt like I understood why they were doing the things they were doing. I understood where their level or their mindset got them to these points. And everybody pretty much did things that I was like, okay, I see why they did that, or okay, I get, you know, that makes sense. So it was easy to follow along with the movie because the plot made sense with what the characters were doing. There's nothing more annoying than a plot going one way and characters doing everything that defies logic, and somehow they make it to the plot point and you're supposed to believe all these shenanigans that went on. Last Jedi, I'm looking at you. It's just refreshing when you kind of see a movie that actually takes the audience on this journey and ends, you know, at the logical destination point. Every movie doesn't have to be, you know, an Inception where you just can't even know what's coming next and your mind is like blown, you know, after, you know, thinking of the movie, or, you know, after the movie you're just like, what? You know, there is something nice in movies that kind of just take you on this journey, you know, and you understand it, you get what's going on, and that's pretty much it. And there's nothing, I guess I want to say, bad in that. I find that, especially nowadays, because most movies, I just find it refreshing when a movie can do that and doesn't make me either lose my interest or have me questioning, like, why am I wasting like X amount of hours of my life watching this? This makes no sense. So I did appreciate that about the movie. That's been my video on Blade. Hope you enjoyed it, found something useful. If you haven't seen that movie in a while, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's worth a look again. If you've never seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, beware, the graphics are from the late 90s, so just bear that in mind when you're watching it. But overall, I think it's a pretty good movie for Halloween. If you were just kind of over your typical Halloween fare, it still kind of fits in the genre because he is a vampire, but it's something a little different, a little more action oriented. So I think it is a good movie for this time of year. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.